How's it going, guys? And in today's video we are going to be talking about Stellar Blade on PS5, PS5 Pro and how to do HDR calibration for this game, in my opinion, to make it look its best that it can. Okay, so this is HGIG, normal TV settings, just standard. You haven't changed anything inside of Game Optimizer. This is how it's gonna look, and this is how it looks before. So before, after. It's gonna look a lot more crazy on camera because the camera's exposure is going to change and shift slightly, and the camera is gonna tone map because I'm recording in HDR. So it's gonna fluctuate a lot, and black levels are gonna be a lot darker on camera. But in general, I tried to pull in as much of the greenery, as much of the colors that have been segmented away from their desaturated look. I still want the game to look desaturated with colors though. I don't want it to look black and white beige like it actually looks from the get-go. So we have added a lot of contrast, made sure that the highlights are a lot brighter, and we made sure that the game is sharp. So if you're on PS5 and you don't have a PS5 Pro and you can't take advantage of a higher resolution, the balance mode on PS5 standard will still look sharper. So this is not just a calibration of sorts, it's actually to make the game look more enjoyable as well as a user. So let's get into the settings, guys. Okay, this is absolutely amazing. That looks awesome, right? That looks amazing. But what are what are the settings? Well, the settings are actually pretty simple actually. You're gonna go into display settings, enable HDR. We're gonna go into HDR, and this is legit what I use. 30, 60, 95. And these settings are great to boost contrast and overall brightness and still remain some of that original look that the artistic intent actually had with this game. Now, I'm gonna do this live. This is the settings that you will want to use if you're in Game Optimizer and you're doing HGIG and you're using Auto on the TV. Now, which settings do you want to use if you want to go limited? Because limited is going to look a heck of a lot more pop than the other settings, but it's going to be too high now, so we're going to have to dial it back slightly. So we're going to do that, but first it's important that I give you the settings for this HGIG Auto calibration with the picture settings. So you're going to do 0 or 3 on white stabilizer, that's your preference. So 3 or 0. 0 will give more impact, but it will wash out slightly some colors to give them more of a presence in the picture. Black stabilizer 4, black level 38, adjust game sharpness 30, and the game color depth 75. And as I said, HGIG. If you want to go dynamic tone mapping, it will wash out the picture slightly, it will elevate the black slightly, and it will make it more bright overall. And you will also see a lot more ABL in this case, when it is a very bright scene anyways. Okay, so that's the calibration for Auto. Now for the people at home that wants to do limited and Auto on the console, we will have to first, I'm gonna do this live, I don't remember the settings. It's not a big deal though, I'm good at this kind of thing, so I will be able to do this live. We're gonna do brightness, and we're gonna go down to limited. So there we go. The first thing that I see, the black levels are now a lot darker, which is not weird because we are in limited now. So we're gonna have to up the black level and rebalance the black stabilizer. The same, it's like 2 clicks up. Does this change anything? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, 5. It's really hard to say because the black levels are slightly washed out in this game. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. Okay, so if you're gonna use limited, do black stabilizer 5, black level 40. If you're gonna use limited, that's it. Now, if I wanted to use dynamic tone mapping, we can see what the settings will be then, but they are gonna be dynamic, so it's not really gonna be possible to calibrate for that. But we can try. Okay, so we're in limited, we're using dynamic contrast. Now, let's start by dialing down the brightness here and see if that helps. We can still see immense washout here of the midtones, so that's not really nice. We want to see a clean picture. However, I don't think we're going to be able to get a clean picture with dynamic tone mapping for those elements. This is a lot more comparable, and I like what I see. This looks good. This looks about the same as it did for HGIG, but HGIG had slightly more luminance pop from these elements right here. Very not huge at all, but it is definitely noticeable that it did pop more for these elements. So yeah, that's the calibration for this game. Now, if we were to ruin these settings and go into just completely standard settings, where we haven't done anything with the TV whatsoever, and the game would, I need to turn on HGIG as well. I can show you that tone mapping looks like this. It lacks punch, it doesn't have that much color, and HGIG looks like this. And now we actually see the specularity of the highlights here on her hip, or whatever that is called, upside of the booty there. And we have the other specularities, but it's super slight, it doesn't really matter too much for me. I don't think, even on the light there from the drone, that doesn't have enough nits for me. So yeah, I think this looks very washed out. I don't think it's gonna come across on camera, so I might need to...
Yeah, so I kind of have to show it off like this full screen instead. As you can see, it's very washed out and the highlights are still there, but they are very minuscule and not very impactful, and the image overall is very, very dull.
Okay, but you get the idea. This is the calibration for Stellar Blade. This should be a lot more enjoyable now to be played instead of how it was before. And I wanted to do a calibration, as I said, for each mode. So dynamic tone mapping limited, HGIG Auto and HGIG limited. So now I've done that. I hope you guys are really happy with that. It doesn't really take much more time for me, so I felt, why not? Yeah, and it's not even comparable, honestly. The game looks a lot more cohesive, brighter, darker, deeper. Black levels are actually clipping this game. The moment you up the contrast, maybe I shouldn't be staying on this screen, we have guys watching, so that you can focus. If you do, go into the settings. This is just for you guys that are purists that wants to know what this does. This elevates midtones, shadows, and the luminance, so nits are gonna go higher, and the entire screen will go brighter, so it will be like using dynamic tone mapping almost. However, there is a problem here. When you go to contrast and you up this from 50 to 55 and upwards, so 50 and up, you are clipping the black level. Like indirectly, all the time you're gonna clip the black levels. There is nothing to do, and that's the default. To not clip black level at all, you would have to go 40. But this is a washed out kind of look for the game. I tried to make a calibration for that, to make sure that you have no washout, no black level clipping at all. However, it's actually not possible in this game. It might be an SDR HDR issue that they didn't resolve, but this game has a blue black level race, and the black level is actually blue in certain elements, so very close to black it's blue, at least in this set piece where I'm in currently right here. The entire game is slightly blue in the shadows, and there's just nothing you can do about this. And dialing down the black stabilizer, you will make the screen more blue if that is the case. So keep that in mind. You will make some elements that are supposed to be gray more blue than they were supposed to be when using black stabilizer. However, it's not a big deal at all. Now, an important side note for everyone, this is important, so stay for this. Using VRR and boost mode on the TV, boost mode makes the shadows darker, not in a deep kind of way, but in a crashing black kind of way. So it ruins the black level, and then VRR makes it even darker and can clip black levels completely in certain cases, especially if you're using limited. So if you're in limited or you're in auto, this is still something that can hurt your your visual experience. So VRR and the standard has to be set off. So VRR on the TV, you don't have to turn anything off on the PlayStation. You can have all the settings on PS5 and PS5 Pro, but on the TV, put this to standard, turn off VRR. You won't notice anything in terms of input lag because this is only 60 FPS. It will still feel exactly as good. And now we can see a lot more in the black level. So if you are gonna do this calibration, just know, and this is for all my videos, if you have been doing boost and VRR and you watched my settings, you most likely lost 5 to 10% of the black level detail just because you had VRR and boost mode on. So that's it. It's not my settings being too black or dark, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I've heard that many times. It's literally you don't know what the settings that you have on that I haven't talked about are doing. So stay away from VRR as much as possible. Only use VRR in like games that, if there's a game that only allows you to have unlocked 120 Hz if you have VRR on, use it in that game, but no, black level will most likely take a hit. However, it shouldn't really be that much of an issue because those games are already washed out in 120 Hz. I don't know, maybe it isn't a big deal in that case, but just take that as a side note. I have no idea if anyone is going to be able to listen to anything that I'm saying because there's a girl standing half naked on screen. Yeah, guys, you get it, right? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. I have to go and smack my meat now, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.